Look at those two, Lolo. Remember when they had Creationist Cat on their show, and they said lots of nasty things about dogs?
Oh, I remember that, as if it were a video clip that you had just added to this video.
I mean, true story, God made man in his image, and he made dogs in the image of his poop.
I'm starting to turn over to CC's side.
You're converting me a little bit.
Yeah.
Not about the whole Christian thing, but at least about being anti-dog.
Yeah, I remember too. I think it's time for a reckoning. Let's start the show. Okay everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Game of Pownes, where we look at debates and work out who wins these debates by playing a tabletop battle alongside. Now, before we start, I need to explain something about these games. The games that we use vary from 7 different types of games, each with their own set of rules. The first one that we use is called Galactic Storm.
This is an adaptation of the game Twilight Imperium. The main difference between these two games is that Galactic Storm doesn't take several days to play, so it is good for this channel.
The second that we use is called Space Confrontation.
Now, this is an adaptation of the game Space Fleet, but it is adapted for big space battles.
The third that we use is called Telton.
I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the game War Master, but Telton is an adaptation of this game. We use these rules for a more epic version of another game called Space Marine.
The fourth set of rules that we use are from the rules of Space Marine.
Now, we used the rules from this game for our first ever Game of Pownes between Ray Comfort and Lawrence Krauss. This game hasn't changed much at all. We pretty much used the same rules as it was in the original 1990 box set.
Fifthly, the set of rules that we use is from Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader.
The Rogue Trader rules from Warhammer 40,000 were the original ones made back in 1989. With this game, we prefer to use Rogue Trader rules with a few adaptations as we find it easier to use, but we also use rules from the Warhammer Compendium and the Warhammer Compilation.
Okay, the sixth set of rules is from a game called Star City.
Okay, who remembers the game Necromunda? Well, Star City is an adaptation of this game that uses some rules for a game called Confrontation that once appeared in the White Dwarf magazine, as well as a few adaptations.
Okay, and finally, the last set of rules that we use is from the game Up Close and Personal.
This game is adapted from the rules for Mutants Down Under, or another game called After the Bomb. However, these rules were then combined with Laser Squad, which is a game that was written by Julian Gollop, to now create this new game which we call Up Close and Personal.
Okay, today we don't really have any debate to analyse. There were some suggestions. One was between the unconventional pastor Greg Brahe and Eric Hovind. I think I got those names correct. But it was over 2 hours long, and I need more time to do that. I'm a married man, so the amount of time I have available for these things is not as good as I would like. And the other debate was between G-Man and Bionic Dance. And I chose not to do that because, well, let's see.
Well, you say that there is no God, right? And I say that there is a God. Well, I guess the first question I can ask you is, what is atheism? Okay, so what you're telling me atheism is me coming to you and introducing...
Yeah, seriously. So, as we are lacking any decent debate, we've just decided to do something for fun.
I'm afraid we won't be using the usual awards in this game, although we will show when a side has a blessed or lucky dice roll during the game.
Okay, there will be no debate involved in this one. We are just playing a tabletop battle using the Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader rules, with the addition of the compendium and compilation rules that also came out shortly after the original game. Okay, so that's all sorted out, so let's look at the armies.
So, as you may have guessed, this battle will be between Saint Lolo and Hugo and Jake of the Bible Reloaded, which is quite a good show on YouTube, except when they criticise dogs, eh, Lolo?
Especially when they criticise dogs.
Hugo and Jake will be represented by the Space Marines. In their army, they have 3 tactical squads and a Predator tank. The Predator tank has been armed with 4 autocannons. The total points value of their army amounts to 1,030 points. Also in the army, Hugo and Jake will be represented by 2 of the sergeants of 2 of the tactical Space Marine units. And here is Hugo, and here is Jake, who probably looks a little bit too much like Donald Trump here, but it was the nearest I could get to a model that looks like him. Also fighting alongside Hugo and Jake is Dark Matter, who also has a channel on YouTube, and he will be the sergeant of the 3rd Tactical Squad. And now we shall look at Saint Lolo's army, and she will be fighting as Koalas. Koalas is an army that I created from the Rogue Trader rules for creating your own armies, so this should be very interesting. In Saint Lolo's army we have 1 Koala Light squad, 1 Koala Light basic squad with 20 Rockakers, 1 Koala Light basic squad, 1 heavy squad consisting of 7 figures, 1 combat squad with 7 figures, 1 plasma squad and a Koala wizard. And we have 3 main commanders, which is an Army Commander Kukul, an Army Commander Colonel, and an Army Commander General. And of course we have Saint Lolo leading all of these. The total amount of points in Lolo's army amount to 1,029.5 points. Okay, the armies now set out their troops. As we can see here, Saint Lolo is behind the crate. She has got her main basic Koala squads out in the front, and the Plasma squad are in cover behind some of the packing crates and a tree. In Hugo and Jake's army, Hugo's squad is hidden behind the Predator tank, and Jake is on the left flank, whereas Dark Matter is on the right flank. And we can see the layout of the table better here. I know that the table size is quite small, but I wasn't able to use the dining room table. My wife wouldn't let me. Remember, I'm married. Okay, now one thing I like to do in these games is to give each army its own special set of dice. So Saint Lolo has the green dice, and Hugo and Jake have the blue dice. Now, to find out who actually wins the battle, each side has to gain victory points. When certain units are destroyed on the other side, that team will gain victory points for those units. And as we can see, both sides start with 0 victory points. We will also be counting the blessings, and as we can see, both sides start with 0 blessings. So, let's start round 1. Okay, Hugo and Jake go first, so they move all their troops forwards, as well as their predator tank. And now the tank takes some shots at Saint Lolo's army. Okay, that's it for the shooting phase. Now Jake moves his troops through the woodland and Hugo moves his troops behind the tank, and Dark Matter is doing a flanking action with his squad. So now it is on to Saint Lolo's army. Lolo moves her troops forward into cover so they can fire this turn. And now the light squads and the plasma squad fire at the predator tank. And in the reserve phase, Saint Lolo moves her combat squad forward, and she and the wizard move forward too. And in the end phase of the turn, we have to roll for the special damage for the predator tank. And oh dear, Lolo. Yeah, that'll teach them to mess with a saintly dog. Yes, indeed, Lol. And with such a blessing in that round, that really proves you are a saintly dog. I stand in awe. Okay, so let's have a look at the end of that round. So, Hugo and Jake have lost their predator tank, and Lolo has only lost a few of her light koalas. And the scores stand at 5 victory points to Lolo and 1 victory point to Hugo and Jake. And of course, Lol receives a blessing. Okay, let's now move on to round 2. So we start with Hugo and Jake's move, and we move the predator tank first because this is now unmanned and is out of control. So this will now be wandering around the board and doing whatever for the rest of the game. Here we can see that Jake is moving his troops through the woodland, and Dark Matter is also moving part of his squad forward while the other part is now going to fire. And in the reserve phase, Dark Matter moves his remaining squad forward, and so does Jake. He can now see the koalas through the woodland. He will be able to fire his rocket launcher next turn, and Hugo remains hidden behind the tank. And now it is Lolo's turn, and she moves her combat squad forward, getting ever closer to Dark Matter. And now the firing phase. And the light squad fire. And in the magic phase, Lolo's wizard casts a special spell which is Magic Bubble for protection. Well, that is the end of the second round, and there wasn't really too much fighting there. Hugo and Jake lost 1 Space Marine, and Saint Lolo lost 1 Light Koala from the Light Basic squad. So here we can see that the scores have not changed that much. However, Lolo did gain 1 blessing, giving her now 4 blessings, showing again that she is a very saintly dog. Okay, let's continue now with round 3, and let's hope that this time it will be more interesting. Hugo and Jake move their troops, and Dark Matter now fires on the Koala Combat Squad. And Jake is now in a position to fire. Hugo's Rocket Man is in range of the koalas. Now it is Saint Lolo's turn, and her koala combat squad engage dark matter in close combat. And Lolo and her wizard advance. And now it's the firing phase. And the rest of the koalas fire at Jake's troops. And don't get a single hit. So after that round, Saint Lolo only gets one Space Marine, whereas Saint Lolo loses quite a lot of hers. However, she still has 5 victory points, whereas Hugo and Jake only have 1. And both gained a blessing and luck point. Let's now go on to round 4. Okay, we start with the movement phase. And now it is firing. Close combat continues between Dark Matter and the koalas. Well, it looks like Dark Matter has done severe damage to the koala combat squad. And now we finish the turn and we go on to Saint Lolo's turn. And the first thing that the good saint does is charge into close combat to help her buddy. And now firing. Now, the plasma koalas are ready to fire this turn. And now we continue with the close combat with Saint Lolo. Well, that's the end of that round, and we can see that Hugo and Jake lost a couple more Space Marines this time, but Lolo lost an awful lot of her troops, and Hugo and Jake managed to gain 2 victory points, whereas Lolo gained none, and each had a blessing or luck point. Okay, let's now continue on with round 5. Okay, so we start off with all the movement, and now we go on to the firing phase. Okay, we now have Lolo's combat phase. Oh, and what a hit by Saint Lolo! That'll teach Dark Matter.
Well, Lolo, that's your first kill in hand-to-hand combat. Have you got anything to say to Dark Matter? Any funny little quip?
Oh, yes. What's the matter, Dark Matter?
That's very good, Lol. Excellent. I would have never thought of that. Good joke.
And now we have moved on to Saint Lolo's turn. Saint Lolo is gradually whittling down Jake's squad, and now she fires on Dark Matter's squad. What? No hits? Lolo, are you not saintly anymore? What's going on? Do not worry, my humble acolyte. I'll get back at Dark Matter very soon. Okay, Lolo, on to the close combat phase. Oh, but in the close combat phase, Lolo takes out Dark Matter. Yes, you're getting it back, Lolo. You're becoming saintly again. That's what we like to see. Okay, and now we have the magic phase. And Lolo's general uses his magic rod to cast lightning. Okay, so that's the end of that round, and it seems that things have really turned around for Saint Lolo. We can see here that she took out many of Hugo and Jake's troops, whereas she had very few losses. And so she now has 8 victory points, whereas Hugo and Jake only have 5. And as usual, Saint Lolo is leading with the blessings. So let's now move on to round 6. Okay, so we start again with the movement phase, and Jake hasn't taken too kindly to Saint Lolo's general lightening his troops. So he has decided to charge into close combat so he can't use the rod again. And now the shooting phase. Jake now does close combat with Lolo's general. And now it is Lolo's turn, and she gets into close combat again. Okay, so now it is Saint Lolo's shooting phase. And now for the exciting part, Saint Lolo's close combat.
Wow, and that is another kill by Lolo. Saint Lolo, high five!
Yeah, high five! Oh dear, Saint Lolo has lost her general. That won't bode well for her. If we look now at the armies, Hugo and Jake have lost a few more Space Marines, but Lol has lost her general. And regarding the victory points, Hugo and Jake are now in the lead, although Lol still has caused more damage. And Lol is still leading with the blessings, although Jake is doing his best to keep their luck up. Okay, so let's now go on to round 7. So, to start with, Hugo decides to engage Saint Lolo in close combat, because he thinks that he might be lucky. And Jake is doing the same, and he is attacking the Koala Heavy Squad. So, let's see how the close combat goes. Well, it looks like Hugo has wounded Lolo. And now let's look at Jake. And Jake has been lucky again. Now, I have divided this round into 2 parts, as it is all close combat, so that was the first close combat round, and we can see at the end of that either side has 11 points each, so they are neck and neck. And Jake has won 1 more luck point for his side. Okay, so now let's conclude round 7 and the game. And all the koalas moving on Jake for the close combat. And now the battle between Saint Lolo and Hugo. And Lolo has taken out Hugo. Lolo, anything to say to Hugo? Yeah, you go, Hugo. Wow, Lolo. Really, it's a miracle how you come up with all these great lines. Okay, but let's carry on now with Jake. Okay, so that is now the end of the game. As we can see, both armies took a big battering. But overall, Lol managed to win the game with 15 victory points to Hugo and Jake's 12. But we can also see that Lol had huge amounts of blessings in the game. In fact, the best amount of blessings ever. Probably because she's a saintly dog. So that's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed that. And if you have any suggestions of other debates you would like me to do a battle for, let me know and I'll give it a go. Okay? Well, bye for now, and comment and subscribe if you so please. Okay? Bye!